Welcome to the second installment of the Opera Festival of Chicago's 1221 Digital Recital Series. I'm Tim Corpus, and joining me this evening is our Artistic Director, Ella Marchman.
Hi there, good evening.
Our Music Director, Emanuele Andrizzi.
Hello, guys.
And our Festival President, Franco Pomponi.
Hello again.
And we have two very special guests joining us, Ferruccio Furlanetto and Patrick Blackwell, who you'll learn much more about later in the broadcast. This series is showcasing our journey to the season premiere of this amazing festival in May 2021. And you can join our journey and you can support us by donating online on our website or the link below. And you can also follow the journey on our social media accounts on Instagram and Facebook. Now I'd like to pass things off to our festival president, Franco Pomponi. Hey, Franco.
Hey, thanks, Tim. Good evening, everyone. We are extremely excited to have joining us the world-renowned artist, Ferruccio Furlanetto. For those of you who may be new to opera, Ferruccio has been the reigning Italian basso for well over 3 decades. He has performed with every major opera company in the world with a vast repertoire of memorable performances. He made his La Scala debut in 1979 in Verdi's Macbeth and has since conquered every important role, not only in the Italian repertoire, but also in French, German, and Russian, such as Mephistopheles, Don Quixote, Boris Godunov, Gremen, and of course Procida in Verdi's Vespri Siciliani, as well as modern repertoire such as Thomas Becket in Pizzetti's Murder in the Cathedral. When I was a student at Juilliard, I first heard Ferruccio as both Don Giovanni and Leporello. I was blown away as he was alternating roles in each performance with the great bass Samuel Ramey. When I made my Italian debut as the devil Nick Shadow in Palermo's beautiful Teatro Massimo, I again heard Ferruccio in his devil role, the title role of Mephistopheles by Boito. It was running concurrently. And most recently, I heard Ferruccio in his monumental Philip II in Don Carlo at the Met. It is with the greatest pleasure to welcome Ferruccio Furlanetto, along with our music director, Emanuele Andrizzi. Welcome, guys.
Hello, my friends of the Opera Festival of Chicago, and hello to my friend Ferruccio Furlanetto. Ferruccio, how are you today? And I'm so glad to see you. I think you're in your home in Vienna. How is the situation over there?
I am ever since the pandemic started. When I left in a rush Berlin, when they closed the theater, and luckily here in Austria and in Vienna in particular, everything has been very mild all the time. So it was just very boring.
I bet, it's been kind of boring here too. All right, I'm so excited, to have you here with us today to celebrate the second of our monthly events. So let me start with a question just about that. What is the role of performing opera in our times, and how do you see that?
You mean about fiscal?
About in general. So, what do you think that performing opera bring to our times?
The great luck and gift that I had was to start my very important things from the vocal point of view and the staging to create a character with amazing people that unfortunately we don't have anymore in these days. And I'm talking about especially Jean-Pierre Pournelle. Jean-Pierre Pournelle taught me to live the characters under my own skin, and it's the only way that you can reach the heart of the people. Therefore, whenever you have this chance for 3-4 hours to be on stage as King Philip, as Fiesco, as Don Quixote, as Boris Godunov, it's a gift. It's such a privilege because you have really 200% the possibility to give life to these characters through your own sensibility and life and experiences. And this is what I've done, also in the matter of choices, because if I have to choose, let's say, between a Zaccaria in Nabucco And between a Don Quixote, well, there is no difficulty at all. I love to be a character that goes straight to your heart. Zaccaria is a wonderful singing role, but from the character point of view, is a kind of piece of wood. Therefore, yes, I always prefer to be on stage and to live the privilege of being these amazing characters for a few hours.
Absolutely, absolutely. It makes sense. And in fact, that brings me somehow to one of the other questions I wanted to ask you, because I've seen you singing in so many roles, and I wanted to ask you, just in particular about the greatest roles in the Italian repertoire. So as an artist to an artist, how do you give life to such roles? How do you make them?
There is only one way. That's why it was extremely important to work. Figaro was my first role with Bonnell. So the music was fundamental. Barenboim was taking care of that. But Bonnell really taught me that the word, together with the music, is the only vehicle to transfer emotion from one artist on stage to an audience. Therefore, is the word applied to beautiful sensational music. And it gives you not only one track, because in all these years, let's say I've sang for 27 years, mostly Mozart. So all of them, Giovanni, Leporello, Figaro, Count, Alfonso, Guglielmo, all of them. And it has been such a glorious joy, to live these characters. For instance, when I started, my very first figure was a blessing because of Bonnell, because of Barenboim, but I was a very young man, and the difference between then and let's say 15, 20 years after was enormous, because I was different. I grew up, my voice grew up with me. So it's a matter of choosing colors, sensation, intentions. And this is the magic of this profession, because it's never finished. You have never finished to learn. My very first Filippo was in 1981. I was a young man. It was lovely, I must say. It was with Giancarlo del Monaco directing in his theater in Kassel, Germany. But between that Filippo and a few years after with Karajan in Salzburg, or now, wherever it happens to do it, there is an enormous difference, but not because I learned something special, because I grew up with it, digesting it, living the situation according to the situation of the moment, and with the vocality that grew up together with me. And I repeat, it's an enormous privilege, not a profession.
Actually, you mentioned something very interesting. Actually, two things that just bumped to my mind. One was about the word, because I remember the first time I went to see a rehearsal by Maestro Muti, and I think he was conducting Macbeth, if I remember, and he was just saying exactly the same thing about how we communicate, how we put together the word and the music, how great composers can make music just make language more beautiful, just to give an extra dimension to what we express already with poetry. And I think it's such a gift that we can be on stage, expressing ourselves in different languages, and still people can understand, because music brings that word to another dimension.
And also, it's also an enormous gift to do something like that with a conductor like him.
Right, of course, absolutely.
Because he is really making everything easier. It seems demanding and, but I've done a wide repertoire with him: Donizetti, Bellini, Rossini, Verdi, Mozart, and everything was just because, as you said, he wants that.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree. And in fact, even as an adult, one of the few conductors whose rehearsals I like to attend are his, because he has this way of really putting the things together that are so important in opera, that is words and music. The first time we worked together, I remember, how you explained to me that wonderful passage in the introduction of Simon Boccanegra. It's, you were telling me about the waves, about the Genoese Sea, and then all of a sudden, Verdi's imagination makes us feel that we are there and that we live with the characters. And somehow I see a little bit of a connection, with the Procida's, arrival, to Palermo, and which, actually the first time I saw that production was the recording, that you made, with Maestro Muti alla Scala. And actually, let me play a little bit for our friends, a little bit just of the idea, so that people can understand what we're talking about.
Sure.
splendor almo
So here we're back. I mean, that is such a wonderful piece. And, you know, when Procida arrives on that shore, you know, I have the same feeling I had in Boccanegra. I feel that Verdi is showing us at once, you know, the beauty of the return to the land and also, you know, making me part of the scene of real life. So I wonder, you know, how do you see the role of Procida and, you know, how does his attachment to his own city, to his own roots, make him such a modern character? You know, someone that speaks directly to us, particularly in these days, you know, there is so much doubt, so much insecurity. How do you feel these operas can make us feel? What are the sentiments that they give to us that you think, you know, make them universal and eternal?
Well, you know, it's not just a matter that he comes back to his land and he sees the fields or the sea or whatever. The component of this piece is very much political. Is the return of this, depends from which side you look at him, a great patriot from one side, or on the other side, a tremendous terrorist.
Right.
And he comes back to free his land. And don't forget that in that moment, when Verdi wrote it, we were occupied in Italy by the Austro-Hungaric army. And every occasion, in every opera that was written at that time by Verdi, was always going into that direction. Patria, patria, patria. Our land is untouchable. It should remain that way. And we must find our freedom and and he was totally right. I mean, it was his land, his people, his tradition, his history. So the French didn't have anything to do with that in Sicily.
You know, it made me think, you know, there is so many of these roles. There is so many of these wonderful operas. I mean, you know, our mission is to give life, to bring back, you know, to life great masterworks from the Italian repertoire that are not performed as often, particularly that have not been performed here. So, you know, I wonder if you have any advice. I mean, I know you have done so many of them. You have been, you know, really fostering this kind of, you know, going back to these great operas. You know, I was thinking about Murder in the Cathedral by Pizzetti, L'amore dei tre re by Montemezzi. So there is a ton of wonderful operas. How do you see them? And, you know, what is the way that you think, you know, we can talk to public to let them, you know, realize that there is a fantastic repertoire out there and it just needs to be rediscovered?
Absolutely, absolutely. There are so many operas, Italian operas, they were forgotten. You mentioned before Boccanegra, for decades, it was totally forgotten. It was Abbado, I think, that took it out from the drawer, and many others. But for instance, you mentioned the Assassinio nella Cattedrale, the murder in the cathedral. In this very city where I am, 6 years after the opera was composed, so 1964, Maestro Karajan did it on stage at the Staatsoper with Anzotta in the role of Beckett, a Margherita Waldman production, and it was a stunning success, and ever since it didn't happen again. And some times ago, a few years ago, I was trying to push to do it again, because I mean, especially we are almost 50 years since the last time that this magnificent piece came on the stage, and the answer was, and if you get sick? And then, I mean, I collapsed. And if you are losing opportunities with this kind of questions, well, it's hard. Yes, of course it is. When I did it in San Diego, I was extremely worried because we had beautiful production, a fantastic time to rehearse it, and everything was perfect. The only thing that was worrying me a lot, I did not have a cover.
Wow.
Therefore, the responsibility was all mine. They were saying that I used to love to be in San Diego before golf. That year, I tell you, for the Murder in the Cathedral, I didn't play once. I was constantly home and theater. No, nothing else, because the responsibility was tremendous.
Oh, absolutely. Probably whomever was supposed to be your cover was playing golf, right?
If nothing happens to me, what they do, they cancel everything. So it's important if you one day you decide to do it to be covered under that sign, because in all the roles, because you know that originally the 4 apparitions that you have at the end, and no, the 4 apparitions that you have at the beginning, and the 4 knights who come to kill him at the beginning, they were the same voices. Then, for instance, in Milano, they did 4 and 4.
Oh, I see.
You need to be covered in all these voices.
And you need a lot of male voices.
Oh yeah. And the chorus is fundamental.
Oh, it is. It is. Actually, talking about male voices, today I wanted to introduce you to, one of our friends, Patrick Blackwell. Patrick is an emerging bass, a phenomenal voice. We're really hoping that he might be with us with one of our first productions. And I think that, that, I wanted to ask you some questions, from, to the, from the mature generation, from the younger generation to the mature generation. And, you guys are all bassy. So, it's a different world from everything else. Patrick, what do you think?
I couldn't agree more. Come stai, Ferruccio? I've been a great fan. I've been a great fan of yours for many, many years, since my college days at Juilliard. And I now live in Los Angeles, and I had the pleasure to see you sing Filippo in the Don Carlo at Los Angeles with Placido. And wow, bravo, signore, bravo.
Thank you, dear Patrick.
Yes, it was such a great pleasure for me to watch you sing my dream role. This is my dream role one day to sing.
Yes, it is a dream role, because really there is a universe to put on stage there. And what we were talking about before, you will find in all the arts of your life, professional life, you will find always new possibilities, new colors, new intentions. You will be never ever finished. So it's glorious. Truly glorious, absolutely. And everything that I've seen you perform is just glorious. So bravo, signore. I wanted to ask you about your opinion on the future of opera as we hopefully quickly emerge from this pandemic. Everything has stood still now because... Yeah, at this very moment, it's difficult to make forecasts, because here, for instance, in Vienna, where the situation, as I said before, was never so terrible like in Italy or in other countries. Nevertheless, only last week there was the first concert. It was Danny Barenboim with a little part of the Wiener orchestra, not the full orchestra, and only 100 spectators. Wow, very small. Therefore, if this has to be the future, well, is a bit dramatic. I am very confident that very soon everything will relax and normality, let's say, will more or less come back. And then, the love for opera is always there. I speak with people who are in pain to live this period without it. Thank God they have television, computers, and they can continue through that. But the live performance is unique.
Yes.
With its mistakes or its special evenings, the live performance is unique. And I really hope that this will happen at the soonest.
Yes.
Because it's already, if you want, it's not a long period, it's only 3 months now that everything is blocked. But 3 months that look like 3 years or,
Yes.
or 30 years. Therefore, what we have left is just hope that everything will recover soon, and that fast but gradually we'll be back where we were.
Yes. Grazie. Thank you so much, Ferruccio. Grazie.
And joy for everything.
Grazie.
Patrick, I'm so glad that actually you mentioned, one of my hero roles, that of Philip II, probably one of Ferruccio's greatest interpretations. And, it's a piece that has a great special meaning for me because, I had the honor, to perform it with you, Ferruccio, in one of my very first concerts with an international orchestra at the San Diego Opera. So why don't we offer our public, a little bit of Ella Jemima Mo, a wonderful aria, and let's see how Ferruccio, how he does in this greatest of all arias.
Se dorme il prince, veglia il traditore, il serto perde il re, il consorte e l'onore. Dormi, o sol, nel manto mio regal, quando la mia giornata è giunta sera. Dormi, o sol, sotto la volta nera. Dormiro sotto la volta nera. Là nella vela dell'escuriale. Se il serto regal a me desse il poter di leggere lei cor, ella giammai m'amò. No, quel cor chiuso è a me. Amor per me no, no. Amor per
Just, to finish our interview, I wanted to ask you, we're working on this dream to bring back great Italian operas and, to make them inside a festival that is going to be full of all these arts that, inspired the composers, to write these operas, from Verdi to Pizzetti to Montemezzi. So I just wanted to ask you, if you have any advice for us while, we we started this path, and we look for to realize this dream.
I wanted to point out that it's a marvelous idea, and actually never happened so far in any other place. And it's wonderful that it starts there with you, with your colleagues, and I can see young people and professionals, they have a special strength, and this is wonderful, wonderful idea that I'm sure it will have a great success. It's a wonderful project, it's great. I'm very glad, and I'm very glad that you are doing it.
Thank you so much, Ferruccio. Hopefully, you'll be able, to be at least with us for one of the operas, later on.
Hope so.
I want to thank my friend Ferruccio Furlanetto for this honor to be with us. Thank you so much, and I really hope you'll keep following our project, and we look forward to seeing you again on the stages all around the world, Ferruccio. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, dear. Ciao.
Wow, I'm in tears. Thank you, Ferruccio, for your tremendous generosity. Tonight is a great night and celebration of what I feel is oft overlooked today, the profound gravity and somber elegance of the low voice. I know of no one today who exemplifies the warm beauty and power of the true basso than our next guest, Patrick Blackwell. Not only one of the finest basses, but one of the finest singers, period. I first met Patrick at Juilliard when we were both students with just big dreams and wild voices. I know we shared awesome respect for Ferruccio and the other great singers of our day and the past. We were young artists together at the Santa Fe Opera, and we also performed together in Augusta Opera's production of Carmen, one of my first professional gigs. Patrick has sung Ferrando in il Trovatore, Scarpia and Tosca, for his New York City Opera debut, Colline and La Boheme, Porgy and Bess with the Munich Philharmonic, the Boston Symphony Orchestra, and others. Last year, he made his debut with Opéra Nationale in Strasbourg, France. And I just remembered, we also worked at the Lyric Opera of Chicago together. Patrick is a regular at the LA Opera and has been heard in Billy Budd, the title role of Noah in Britain's Noah's Flood. And it is a joy to be reunited with my friend and colleague, Patrick Blackwell, and to introduce to you our artistic director, Ella Marchment. Hello.
Thank you, Franco, for that wonderful introduction, and welcome to you, Patrick. We are so delighted to have you here today.
Thank you. It is a pleasure.
Patrick, I know that you have a history of both work and study with Franco here, but I just wanted to say we're so delighted to meet you over the internet, and thank you for giving us your time today. And how have you been coping during this time of COVID, obviously when our whole industry is sort of completely shut down?
Well, thank you. Excellent question. I have kept myself occupied by singing projects here in Los Angeles. I sing with Los Angeles Opera. Of course, I was supposed to be in the spring production of Péléas and Mélisande, which unfortunately was canceled due to COVID. And now I am furiously learning the roles of one of the minstrels slash knights in Wagner's Tannhäuser, which will be next season at Los Angeles Opera. And so I'm keeping myself occupied with music. And I am very grateful to be able to continue that. And it's been very disheartening to know that our venues are now closed, but for good reason, for health and safety of the singers and musicians. And yes, that's how I've been keeping myself occupied. And
great that you've got something to kind of get your teeth into and continue learning as well. There's two performances of yours that have kept me smiling during this period, which is obviously the Verdi Requiem, which we will hear a little bit later.
Thank you.
And also a little appearance I saw of you singing on Maggie and Friends with an ex-colleague of mine from Juilliard, where I was last year, Maggie Renee, and I loved your La Chita la Mano. It was brilliant.
Thank you so much. That is probably one of the most recognizable duets, I think, to everyone, even those people who don't know opera, I think know La Chita la Mano. And of course, Maggie is a sweetheart, and I first met her out here in Los Angeles. We were doing a smaller project, and what a lovely, lovely colleague, and very talented mezzo she is, indeed.
Had you ever actually tried recording in that way or making videos like that? Or is that something, because I know a lot of my colleagues as well are feeling like they're trying completely new, different kind of approaches towards that art at the moment. Is that something new for you as well?
Yes, absolutely. As we are now going virtual and digital, it is pretty important to record these duets, trios, sextets, and I find it fun. I mean, I have to admit, the very first time I was approached and asked about doing these projects, it was very foreign to me. It was almost like speaking Greek. But now I'm getting the hang of it. I'm getting the hang of the art of virtual recording. So, and it's a lot of fun. Of course, as Ferruccio mentioned earlier, there's really nothing that can take the place of a live performance. Feeling the energy, feeling the that compassion that you feel, that you can only feel in a live performance. However, we must adjust to our new way of performing digitally, I think.
I've actually been directing a set of scenes online with Guildhall students, Guildhall School of Music and Drama here in the UK. Wow. And actually one of the things that has been a big challenge for us has been in terms of actually learning when to stop recording. Did you find that in terms of, you know, obviously a performance normally is live, it happens, you rehearse, it's done. Do you find that you're kind of more self-critical when you're performing in this way?
Very much so, because I can sit and watch. However, it is rewarding to be able to re-record if you've made mistakes, made errors here and there. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the outcome. It's all about making great music. So to answer your question, yes, I find it sometimes difficult to stop and then go back and listen, because we are our worst critics.
Very true. Also, additionally, you were there seen in that video doing that duet with Maggie, supporting a kind of a fellow Juilliard alumni, but also a young artist. Thinking about other young artists considering this profession, what advice would you give to them at the moment, who maybe people who are a little bit concerned about their future prospects at the moment?
My personal advice to them would be as follows. In spite of the pandemic, in spite of the standstill of the opera world, I would say to them, continue. Pretend that there is no pandemic. Immerse yourself in the art form as if everything were normal. That would be my advice, because actually that's what I'm doing. I think it's good for the soul, it's good for the morale, and it keeps us all in shape. Another great point that Ferruccio made earlier was that we are like athletes. Singers are like basically the same concept of keeping ourselves in shape. And I think keeping ourselves in vocal shape and mental shape are equally important. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's about being there and being ready to be able to jump back into action as well when necessary.
Absolutely. My point exactly, yes.
Patrick, you have one of the most beautiful and powerful bass voices of today. Okay. And talking of training, I'd love to reflect a little bit more on your wonderful career. So can I ask you, what music did you listen to growing up, and also what inspired you to pursue opera specifically?
Well, growing up in Washington, D.C., I had the privilege to go to an arts high school in Washington named after the great jazz composer Duke Ellington School of the Arts. And there, of course, I was able to get my fundamentals. The foundation was laid, working with good, competent voice teachers and musicianship teachers. That was the very beginning of my training in classical music. And of course, opera, of course, takes everything to a whole new level. And listening to the greats such as Ferruccio Furlanetto and Sam Raimi and some of the great basses, those were the voices that really inspired me. I knew that classical music and opera really spoke to me on a very personal level. And I knew that I wanted to pursue it. And then, of course, I was fortunate enough to jump on a train from Washington, D.C. up to New York City to audition for Juilliard. And not knowing what the outcome would be. But I walked in and I gave it my all, and stayed there for 3 days, doing some musical examinations, etc., and then received a letter of acceptance 2 weeks later, and that actually opened an entirely new world for me in classical music, to know that I would be studying there with the late great tenor Enrico Di Giuseppe, who gave me a tremendous vocal training and knowledge of opera. Yeah.
Well, were there others as well who helped you on your way, including that teacher?
There are. Upon graduating from Juilliard, I was very much interested in being accepted into some of the young artist programs around the country. And the great bass Jerome Hines, who was truly, in my opinion, one of the greatest of all time. I had the pleasure to work with him for 2 years in vocal technique, and just listening to his great stories of the opera world of yesteryear, so to speak. Another thing that we sometimes forget and lose sight of is that the opera world has changed so much over these decades. Many changes, the way everything is looked upon. But yes, Jerome Hines, he certainly was a mentor of mine on a very, very high level, indeed. Yeah.
Wow.
I miss him greatly. I wanted to study with him. Actually, we spoke on the phone of scheduling a lesson just about a month before he passed away, actually. So that was,
no.
yeah. But I have fond memories of Jerome Hines. Yes.
Wow. Hugely lucky to have studied with him. Wow, amazing.
I'm indeed, yes.
Thinking about your experience of opera again as well, could you just please tell me what your greatest opera-related memory is, either on or off stage?
Well,
Yes,
I have to say, hands down, it would be singing the role of Leporello at the in San Francisco with I was a Merolini, and we first performed it at Villa Montalvo. And then after the summer program was over, we actually took Don Giovanni on the road with what was then Western Opera Theater. And the responses to the audiences around the country, we started at Villa actually we started at Santa Rosa, California, and made our way all the way east to Brooklyn, New York. And so we basically performed around the country. And for me personally, that was such an amazing introduction to the vibes of audiences and the reception of audiences. And they were all pretty electric, because Don Giovanni is such a recognizable opera, the story of Don Juan, and it seems like it's relatable on every level. So that would be at the top. And of course, I would have to say second was my debut at New York City Opera, singing Colline in La Bohème, in Puccini's masterpiece. So yes, but I would say those two. That was the early part of my career.
wow, some beautiful memories.
Yeah.
Thinking about that Don Giovanni as well, because presumably it's a great bit of music drama anyway, and presumably you performed at quite a lot of locations as you made your way through the tour. How with a show like that, do you feel like you keep it fresh all the time?
Well, I coach. I have a wonderful coach out here in Los Angeles, in the Los Angeles area, and of course, singing with LA Opera, I'm very happy to be on the scene and go to see productions. As a matter of fact, Don Giovanni is on Los Angeles Opera's season next season, so I'm not a part of it, but I'll certainly be there to watch it. But really, to answer your question more directly, singing the arias, singing the duets, the trios, the sextets. This is how I personally believe in keeping roles fresh. I don't like to put them in a box and seal them up for 10 years, because then you fall out of the graces of the opera and the roles. So to keep it fresh is to sing it, coach it, and keep it in front of your in front of your eyes. and yeah.
as a director myself as well, I often ask myself this question because obviously I built such kind of a set vision about a piece, and then I build it in dialogue with the singers. But actually, if you've come from a production, say that you loved of a piece, is it quite hard to let go and kind of recalibrate and put a new kind of concept or vision or working of a character into your mind?
It can be, because I take the roles that I do I hold them very dear. And I remember, we as artists remember what it's like to perform roles. We remember, we keep it very fresh in terms of the people that we work with. And so it can be sometimes hard making the transition to another production, but at the same time, it's very exciting. It's very exciting to work with new directors, new productions, get new insight, and of course, different artists. That's one of the most wonderful aspects of what we do as opera singers, in my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like picking up a different painting medium each time you come back to a production, really.
Precisely. Yeah.
So I've already said that I absolutely adored your performance of Verdi's Requiem, and we are now going to pause to watch a little bit of it. But before we do that, it's been driving me mad that I don't know where it was. Where were you performing that?
This was performed at the Bob Jones University in Greenville, South Carolina, and that evening was a splendid evening. First of all, to hear the glorious voices of the students behind me was truly a sacred moment, I have to say, because I hold the Verdi Requiem as one, in my humble opinion, one of his greatest operas, even though it's not technically an opera, but the music is so magnificent and captures Verdi's genius that I consider it an unofficial opera. And of course, the orchestra, it was truly a grand experience for me to take part of it. And the audience, I think there was probably more than 2,000 people in the audience, and you could hear a pin drop the entire evening. So it was really grand for me.
Fabulous. And on that note, let's hit the performance, please.
Maleditis, flammis acribus aditis. Voca me, cum benedictis. Oro supplex et acclinis, for contritum quasi cinis, cere curam mei finis, oro supplex et acclinis, for contritum quasi cinis. Cere curam mei
Thank you very much. I've just enjoyed seeing that again. Brilliant, Patrick, keeping me entertained. As well as being one of the world's leading bases in opera, oratorio, and music theatre, Patrick has also been associated with the festival since it was just a glimmer in all of our eyes. We have mentioned Procida several times tonight, but we are also delighted to announce to all of you that after this stunning performance, that we couldn't think of anyone more fabulous for this role in our 2021 gala performance of Verdi's I Vespri Siciliani. Actually, as soon as we decided on this repertoire, Franco was adamant that you would be the perfect fit for the role. But I also see that you have several other roles of Verdi under your belt. Just to name a few, you've done Il Re in Aida, you've done Melitone in Forza del Destino, Monteroni in Rigoletto, and Tom in Ballo and Mascara. So on paper, it would certainly appear that Verdi seems to be an important part of your life. Can you tell me what it is that draws you to his music?
Well, first of all, Giuseppe Verdi was such an amazingly cultured man, and his music reflects struggles, it reflects revolution, it reflects tragedy, it reflects love, forgiveness, and he sets his music to the story so brilliantly that it just draws me. And it captivates me in almost basically every opera that he wrote. He brilliantly captures the drama that reflects life so well. And of course, his music is so impeccably written for the voice. You know, he took the bel canto to an entirely new level. He actually decided that, okay, this is how it's going to be. And he set it with such precision that I think that's what I love so much about Giuseppe Verdi. It's just, it speaks to the soul. His music speaks to the soul. Yeah.
And hopefully a new role too soon.
Absolutely, absolutely. As I study and immerse myself into this wonderful I Vespri Siciliani, which I had the pleasure of seeing many, many years ago at the Teatro alla Scala. I sat way up.
Wow.
And I saw the production, and it was just stellar, truly. I was on a trip to Milan, yes.
I'm very, very jealous of that. So in terms of Chicago as well, obviously, before we started recording, you were talking about how much you love the city. What is it about Chicago? What's great about it for you?
Well, of course, my great memories of singing with the Lyric Opera of Chicago for 3 seasons I had the pleasure of. And I have family there, many friends. The city has such flavor. Each time I think of Chicago, I just think of all of the sweet memories of singing with the opera. My children, actually, I have 3 grown children. My younger son was born in Evanston Hospital, and I was actually he's an Evanston baby, and I just love the city. It just has such flavor and character, and the great festivals, and it's just a great city. I love Chicago.
I'm glad we're giving you an excuse to come and spend some more time in Chicago.
Oh, it's my delight and pleasure to be there, truly.
So my next question is a hypothetical one, and
Sure.
say I handed you a golden something and said you could do one performance of any opera anywhere in the world, what would it be and where would you sing it?
Well, hands down, it would be Philip II, Filippo, in Don Carlo, and I would love to do it in Chicago at Chicago Lyric Opera. Yes. Yes. Easy answer for me.
Easy, yeah, very, very swift answer on that one. On a bit more of a serious note, I'd like to turn our attention a little bit to current affairs.
Sure.
I'm a mixed race Caribbean, Chinese and British female director. So at various points in my career, I felt very much alien to some of the conduct associated with the art form. And as a result, in the UK, I've actually set up a charity that seeks to address gender disparity within the industry and improve working conditions for anyone who basically chooses this career path, because I really believe in equal opportunities. Another even more problematic issue that opera's sort of started to finally lift the lid on is that of diversity.
Yes.
I hope you don't mind me saying this, but I think that your success and your longevity of your career in the world of opera really heralds you as a role model for all performers, but Black performers especially too. Just thinking about the situation at the moment, if someone was wary about engaging in opera because they felt like an outsider to the genre, what would your advice be to them?
Well, excellent question. My advice would be to remember who you are as a person, and not to be discouraged by any offhanded remarks. I think it's very important to remain to thine own self, be true. Remember who you are and your commitment to this art form that is so beautiful, and to not let yourself, to not let yourself be discouraged. Absolutely, yes. That would be my yes.
And still on the same topic, what do you think the industry should do next to guarantee greater representation and inclusivity, really, both on and off of its stages? It's a big question, but do you have any thoughts on that?
Oh, absolutely. I think that it's very important to recognize great talent for what the talent is, regardless of gender, race. I think that has been probably the biggest obstacle, if you will, within our industry. I think that people have certain perceptions of who should sing a certain role, but I personally believe that if the young lady or the young man is talented and can sing the role, I see no reason why those people should not be cast in those roles. Yes, in my opinion. Yeah.
Good, thank you. It's great to hear your opinion on that. I have a final quick fire round of choices. I've basically prepared a couple of X or Y's, and you can choose which one. So I'm going to fire them off to you. So first of all, Verdi or Rossini?
Ah, that's a tough one. I love them both. They both brought something so unique in their own ways, but I would have to go with Verdi.
Good choice considering our repertoire for next season.
Yeah.
Next one is Chicago Cubs or the White Sox?
Oh, that's a tough one. I actually sang at the victory rally. I sang the national anthem for the White Sox when they won the World Series in 2005. Yes, and that was a great honor for me. I sang the national anthem, and I've also sung for the Cubs as well on many occasions. Wrigley Field, the friendly confines of Wrigley Field. Two great teams, but are you asking me to choose one over the other? Okay, I will have to go with the White Sox. Sorry, I know I got a lot of hisses.
I think Tim's a massive Cubs fan.
Oh, sorry, Tim.
I'm a fan of both. You know, I live in the southern end. I'm not on the north side, so I support.
Exactly.
Okay, my next question is Attila or Fiesco?
Well, I would have to say Attila, but I'll take Fiesco if
If it comes up, yeah.
Two great roles. Two great roles.
Okay, you're out for a meal. Would you get a starter or dessert if you had to choose between the two?
I would say a starter.
And final one, opera or operetta?
Opera.
We feel you.
Good.
Thank you for that, Patrick. I've loved hearing so much more about yourself and opera, and we hope that we'll all be together to share in some beautiful birdie next year and also to meet in person. In the meantime, do you have any final things that you would like to say?
Well, I would love to say that the majesty of opera reaches everyone from all corners of the globe. And I hope, it is my sincere hope that we keep this tradition alive and that we can one day reconvene in the Opera House, feel the energy, see the magic on stage, and keep the great art form alive. And it's my
beautiful, positive, uplifting thought.
Yeah, truly. And my honor to be a part of it. And it brings me such joy, great joy.
Thank you so much, Patrick. It's been a delight.
Pleasure, my pleasure. Thank you.
What an evening, and thank you for joining us. We are thrilled to present these discussions and performances for you each month. And if you would like to see more, you can support us online on our website or the link below. We invite you to join us for our next event on July 21st. That's right, only about 10 months to go until our premiere. So thank you for joining us, and happy solstice. We'll see you next time.